Welcome back. This will be our second to last playoff edition of Gridiron Gang. What we got today is a recap of Conference Championship Week. Philadelphia Eagles face the San Francisco 49ers. Cincinnati Bengals traveled to Kansas City, and that's what we'll start here. Coming into this game, there was a lot of talk about Patrick Mahomes' ankle, rightfully so. That sprain looked very nasty. And I think the Mahomes' ankle looked just about at the right percentage that it needed to be, where I said the Chiefs would pull this game out. And even with his limited mobility, his numbers on paper did look pretty good. 29 to 43, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns. I do think that the offense had their struggles still. Only 20 rushes for 42 yards. Weren't really keeping Cincinnati honest, but when you're not generating anything in a rush game, I understand if you kind of want to abandon that a little bit. Regular season, they showed a graphic during the game. It was a surprise to me. They had the 31st ranked third down conversion offense in the league. This game, they had 7 for 14 on third down conversions. I don't know where that would have ranked among regular season rankings, but probably not where they'd want to be. But it was enough to get the job done in this game. And for me, over the past few years, when we talk about this Chiefs team, it's Mahomes, it's Kelsey, Andy Reid. Not anymore, but it was Tyreek Hill. But the story for the game, for me, was this Kansas City defense. I think they gave Cincinnati's offense everything that they could handle and more, and they just weren't able to get it done. And that kind of leads me to Zach Taylor on the other side. I know we've had our reservations about him. 2 weeks ago, we said he's not Tomlin. He ain't going to win you the game. He ain't Staley. He ain't going to lose you the game. Last week, I thought he was very impressive. They came out. They dominated Buffalo from start to finish on the road in the snow. Preseason favorites to be the number 1 seed in the AFC, preseason favorites to win the Super Bowl. So that was a pretty convincing W for Cincinnati. And what they did to Buffalo is what Kansas City did to Cincinnati coming out in this game early. That's kind of been the story between these two teams. Kansas City comes out fast, punches them in the mouth. Cincinnati, slow and steady wins the race. They beat them 3 times in a row. This time, Cincinnati wasn't able to pull it out. I think the turnovers are really a factor in this one. 2 interceptions for Joe Burrow to the 1 turnover that Patrick Mahomes had. And the penalties, especially that last one, that push in the back, late hit on the quarterback, gave Kansas City 15 extra yards. Some of those things come down to discipline. I don't know if you want to consider Zach Taylor as a part of some of those issues. I thought this offensive line was also a huge factor as well. But where this team really lost the game, in my opinion, was only 17 rush attempts. You knew that you had 3 offensive linemen down. Kansas City knew that you had 3 offensive linemen down, and they were selling out to stop this pass. You got to keep them honest, especially when you are effective in the rush game. I think you're averaging over 4 yards a carry with Joe Mixon and the boys. So I think that's really where Cincinnati would want to go back and change some things if they could in this game. But all in all, for sure, the best game of the week. What'd you think about this one?
Yeah, it was definitely the best game of the weekend for sure. For me, though, you got to – up until this last game that Cincinnati played against Kansas City, those backup linemen were arguably playing better than their starters.
For sure.
It just came to a head this weekend where they just kind of laid down and died. I don't think they really – to me, it looked like they didn't expect a whole lot from Kansas City's defense. And I think Kansas City's defense went above and beyond this weekend to shut them down as best they could and play the best game of the year that all of this season that they've played, even though there's still some question marks back there. But which leads me to the other point where the way they played this past weekend, I know we have a bye week before the Super Bowl, but it makes me wonder if they gave every last ounce they had left in this season on that side of the ball to go up against this high-powered Philly offense. That's what worries me for Kansas City going forward. But, this was just – it came down to this just being a true gutsy performance and win for Kansas City. They did what they had to do. They exceeded expectations in this game. And, whoever was leading the charge, I don't know her name, but whoever was leading the charge – on that training staff to get Patty Mahomes ready for this game, man, credit to her. She deserves an award, if there is one. Because, I told you last week that he's going to be in that training room nonstop this week to get ready for the game. And that's exactly what happened. And,
whatever she was able to figure out is crazy. That's usually 4 to 6 weeks.
To me, and it makes me wonder, I know it's a long season, and when you get those high ankle sprains, when you're middle early middle of the season, you're like, oh, I'm going to sit out and just let it heal on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes me wonder, like, every game matters in the season to get to the end goal, what you want to get to as a team. Why are there certain times that you just don't go in and say, because these guys, they don't need to be on the practice field the whole week. They just don't. They're professional athletes. They're professional football players. All you got to do is be in the film study and playbook for the week, and you're good to go. I mean, it's muscle memory. You're not going to go out there and forget how to play football. So it makes me wonder, like, why don't some guys just stay in that training room all week and heal up as best they can. And those training staffs are top of the line. They're top notch, and they know what they're doing. So,
right. And
I know you don't want to risk your body, and you don't risk your career or whatever, but it just makes me wonder, like, if you say you got a big game, division on the line, it makes me wonder, why not try to do what Patty Mahomes did? Because, I mean, it can play dividends. It'll pay off if you do what he did. But I mean, he's also kind of a rare case as well. So, but I mean, all in all, I mean, when you have Kelsey, when you have Mahomes, when you got a coach like Andy Reid, you can't underestimate this team, no matter what kind of question marks they have on defense, because they'll come up with a game plan and punch you right in the mouth. But I will say, their toughest test of the season is going to be the Super Bowl, because this Philly team's no joke. So,
yeah, that's no question. We can talk about Andy Reid a little bit more, because there was a lot of talk about that ankle, and he was able to scheme up an offense that didn't really utilize Patrick's legs. He didn't really get hit a lot. I mean, he had to step up in the pocket here and there, but Cincinnati does have a very good defensive line. I thought, I got to give my credit to Andy Reid on that, because I thought that was one of my keys to the game. And you have to assume, knowing that the other quarterback is hobbled, we're going to scheme up something to try and get after him.
Yeah.
You did have one of the best offensive lines all year. Part of that is due to Patrick Mahomes and his ability to escape. Him not having that ability, and for you to still protect him the way you did, I thought that was very impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and you got to give credit to that O-line coach, bro, because he's got his group ready to go each and every week. So, but Andy Reid, when it comes to X's and O's and scheming up and game plan and everything, he's up there with Bill Belichick for me. I mean, he look what his track record with the Eagles. Then he comes to KC. He's made that perennial powerhouse of a team and an organization. It doesn't hurt that you got Patrick Mahomes. Doesn't hurt that you got Travis Kelce. But I mean, they got a lot of newcomers on that team as well. It's not a lot of turnover, but there is quite a few new faces on that team. It's not the same old Kansas City team we're used to seeing. So, and that just goes to show that Andy Reid is best of the best. And, on the other side of the ball, or on the other side of the field with Cincinnati, man, it was a disappointing kind of game, because I felt like they were the more complete team for me out of these two.
I agree.
And I think it was definitely a letdown coaching-wise from Zach Taylor. I don't think he had his squad really prepared for this game. It kind of showed. Burrow didn't have the game we expected him to have. I mean, you have all those weapons on offense, and they were no-shows pretty much. The defense, I mean, holding Kansas City low 20s, that's every time. I mean, that's still good.
Yeah.
That's still good. I mean, it's a letdown on the offensive side of the ball. So I expected a lot more from that offense, and it just didn't happen. And I think that we're still in that growing period for Cincinnati in this organization. They're still a very young organization, young playmakers. They're not going to go anywhere. This is going to be a matchup for quite some time.
I agree. I mean, I think these two teams right here, I will say Cincinnati has some work to do, because both Jamar and Joe Burrow are on rookie deals. So they're going to have some money to be spending in the future here. But if they handle that situation correctly, I think these teams will be matching up for years to come, like you said. Before we get off this game, you mentioned Kansas City's defense, and if they blew their load against Cincinnati, that's definitely going to be a question mark, because, like I said, Cincinnati was effective in the run game. We know Philly is not shy to hand that ball off. Even if Jalen Hurts isn't healthy, he will run it when he has to. He had just about 40 yards in this last game, so that's something I'm going to be looking out for on the Chiefs side defensively, because they played their ass off against Cincinnati. I mean, I was very impressed with what they did, but if they can do that twice, I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that.
No.
To your point, though, about Zach Taylor, I don't know. They started this game horribly. I don't know if they had any yards in the first quarter, if you attribute the sacks to the yards lost. Yeah. I think 3 or 4 in the first quarter, 5 for the game overall. I don't know, man. They just didn't come out prepared. They came out lackadaisical. They came out flat. And, I mean, credit to them, though. They stayed in the game. I think Chiefs have some work to do, and they have to look at themselves in the mirror. Like, we really had a chance to put this one away. We did go up 10-0, but we did have a touchdown call back because of a holding call. But I don't know, man. Like you said, man, these are just evenly matched teams.
But when it comes to coaching and Zach Taylor specifically, I've always, since he got hired, I've always questioned that hire, because to me, I think it's more of a loaded team with a lot of talent.
Yeah.
And he's just doing enough to get them
managing.
There. But he's not doing what he needs to do to put them over that hump and put them in a position to be successful as they can be. And I think that he is, to me, with this type of talent on the team and these specific players, I don't think he's the right guy for the job.
A little Chargers-esque.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm good with this game if you are. We can move on to the next.
Yep.
And not a lot to say here, honestly, but what I will say, oh, shit. Can you hear me? I just had some, knock my headphones out. Okay. I have mixed feelings about this one. A 31-7 victory probably tells us that one team was outmatched. They were getting outmatched, and then they were getting outplayed. I mean,
a lot of injuries.
Yeah, this, like I was gonna say, man.
I'm not gonna put it on the injuries, but it looked like the San Francisco 49ers had just hit a dead end. Like, they just got to the game that they were meant to get to. They had a hell of a season, hell of a run. But I felt like it just all came crashing down suddenly. Like, in this game, start to finish, it was just like you had guys. Purdy goes down, and after that, they stood no chance with Josh Johnson. There was so many times George Kittle was wide open so many fucking times.
It was tough. It was really tough to watch that. They go down 7-0. They get the ball, which they shouldn't have gone down 7-0, because that was not a catch by Devontae Smith. I mean, that's a real tie guy, but I'm going to keep it honest with you. You know what I'm saying? So, worst case scenario, you're down 3-0, and then obviously Purdy gets hurt, and Josh Johnson goes into the game. But, I mean, the trouble doesn't stop there, because when Purdy gets hurt, he fumbles the football. So now Philly has the ball with a chance to go 14 with a short field, and you're really going in there as a 4th-string quarterback. Like, well, this is my chance in the league. It's my 14th opportunity or something like that. I guess I got to make the most of it. And go ahead.
It just, this game, I don't have much on this game, because it felt like what they did to us in the NFC Championship game in 2017. It just feels like this season for them is a season of destiny. And I hate saying that, but it just feels that way. Like, it just feels like that. Like, you got Super Bowl. This is the first Super Bowl ever with 2 black quarterbacks starting, which is crazy. Jalen Hurts is going to be out to prove something big against Patrick Mahomes. And I mean, the adversity and shit that he's faced with being demoted, national TV at Alabama, for a guy named Tua Tagovailoa, who's can't even touch him right now. Like, the talent level is just so different. And as a Bama fan, you should be wondering what the hell Saban was doing. I mean,
hey,
y'all did win, but
the last 15 seconds, your audio stopped, and I think that was God saving your ass, because if he knew that I knew you were talking about my Bama boys, it was going to get ugly next time I see you.
Yeah, I was talking a little smack, but I just don't know how he gets benched for. I mean, obviously that's a few years ago, and you know, Saban's got to make a call.
Jalen Hurts, he progressed a lot.
Since then he's just progressed mightily, and I like the guy, and I hate the Eagles, but I like that him as a player. I like him as a person, his demeanor, his competitiveness. But that team is so loaded, it's not even funny. And man, it just feels like a season of destiny for them. I mean, you think about it, they got so many defensive players that are going to be up in free agency this year. And it's like, it's now or never for them. It kind of has that feeling like after this year, it might be another however long till they get back there.
It could
so
be.
they got to take advantage. And, but this game, it was just like, man, it just, from the moment the first kickoff happened, it was, I didn't feel it for the Niners. And I was like, I mean, and let me be, both my picks are wrong for getting to the Super Bowl. I was wrong on both, and, I'll eat that. But listen, at the end of the day, I think I was more so, believing in the potential that was there for Cincy and 49ers. Because look, I wasn't trying to dog Philly or Kansas City. They're both terrific teams and had terrific seasons this year. But I was just more so, what Purdy was managing to do, how that defense is playing. But I mean, look, in those type of games, playoffs, championship games, that stadium is one of the toughest stadiums to go in and get a W. I mean, it's hostile, it's loud, and those players feed off of that freaking energy out there in Philly. And they were flying around the ball even more so than San Francisco did last week against Dallas. And it's fun to watch. I hate Philly, but it's fun to watch. It's good football, and credit to them. San Francisco's got a lot of questions now. All of a sudden, I think obviously with the quarterback room, and now that
6 months
torn his but those are still tough to come back from. I mean, those are the typical injuries that baseball pitchers face, and when you tear a UCL, you're usually out past a year. So we'll see what 6 months brings. I mean, it was just a couple weeks ago that they said they're moving forward with Purdy as a starter next year.
Yep.
Are you going to trade Trey Lance? I've heard a lot of rumblings of looking to deal Lance to the Vikings for Kirk Cousins, and that makes no sense to me. I've just heard whispers, but that doesn't make sense to me. I don't want Trey Lance. I don't think anyone should want Trey Lance. He's a project, and that's being nice,
project
to say the least. But overall with this game, I mean, I was just super impressed with Philly.
You said you came into the game and you didn't really feel like San Fran had it from the kickoff. So they did tie this game up after Purdy went out. The defense was phenomenal, honestly. And then it was a late touchdown by Philly and then a fumble in their own territory late in the first half that really put this game away for San Fran.
Yeah, Philly got a couple breaks their way in. But I think, the story for the game for San Francisco was just CMC looked like an absolute stud out there. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I think the thing that I look forward to in the Super Bowl is what Andy Reid can scheme up for this Kansas City offense to go out there and beat this Philly defense. It's going to be a chess match, and I said last week on the show that I would take Shanahan over Nick Sirianni any day of the week. And I still hold true to that. I just think, I said with Zach Taylor, what I said about Zach Taylor and that Cincinnati team, it holds true with Philly and Sirianni. Sirianni's blessed with a fucking awesome roster
for sure,
and he doesn't have to do much. He just doesn't have to fuck it up.
Yeah,
and I think it's going to be interesting if you lose the Super Bowl to Kansas City. The next couple of years are gonna, that holds your destiny for the long haul in Philly, because they don't like losing, and if you can't get back to this type of stage again in a short matter of time, Sirianni's going to be out the door.
I also think that window is a little smaller. Like you said, they loaded up this offseason. They loaded up during the season, beefing up the D-line and whatnot. So they definitely went all in this season. Maybe a year or two window, and then you got to pay Hurts, and then just like the Bengals, you got to see what you do from there. That's always a big discussion to have.
Yeah. And Andy Reid's not going to want to lose to his former team. So,
I mean, that's the Andy Reid Bowl. That's going to be fun, man. It's going to be real.
He's going to be eating a cheeseburger right in their face.
just gonna break the news. I just opened a cheeseburger shop right around the corner.
No, but for real, I mean, what can you say about a NFC championship game or any championship game that is 31-7, 38-7? There's not much to say. It's so one-sided that you can only talk about Philly. What's the point of talking about what went wrong for San Francisco when a lot of it had to do with injuries, and they're not moving on? I mean,
when you say San Francisco has a lot of work to do this summer, you just mainly mean that quarterback room, right?
Well, yeah, and then about it seemed like 2 seconds after the game ended, a report came out that it said that Kyle Shanahan's definitely going to be making moves this offseason. So it makes me wonder what they have up their sleeve and what they think they're missing to get the job done, because that team is pretty damn loaded already the way it is.
Mm-hmm. They did just lose D'Amico to Houston, 6-year deal. Congrats.
And that's a huge loss. That's a huge loss. And, that's a former Bama guy.
All we do is win, win, win.
I didn't realize he was Defensive Player of the Year.
Are there any Gators in the league outside of Damian Pierce? Pouncey brothers are gone. Elam?
I don't know. I'd have to look.
I
don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know. But
Kyle Pitts?
For me, well, yeah, obviously him. He's a no-brainer. But I'm talking about like more in-depth like names that I
I gave you 3. That's about all I got.
Depth piece. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It makes me wonder though what they have up their sleeve this offseason for San Francisco. It seems like they're always a team, like having Shanahan as the coach and then John Lynch as the GM. They're not afraid to make moves, and they're going to go out there and make the moves necessary to get to the championship again. And that's what I love about that organization. They're every offseason they're doing what needs to be done to make them even better. There's a lot of teams in the league that don't do that. They just kind of stand pat or add a piece or two that they think will help, but they don't really add. A lot of teams just don't add those pieces that they need to add or depth that they need to add. I mean, look about why Philly and San Fran's defenses are so damn good. They have depth like crazy. One man goes down, another comes in, and they don't miss a beat.
Right.
Most teams in the NFL can't say the same.
Right.
And that's the hardest thing about building a roster in the NFL. I mean, it's tough, and I don't know. It's just, not much to say about this game. It's hats off to Philly. They've had a hell of a year, and I mean, they beat a really good team. You think about it, even if Jimmy G plays this game or Purdy's healthy the whole game, it's hard to picture a different outcome.
I mean, I kind of do. I thought San Francisco was playing, if not better, they were playing just as well as Philly up until those turnovers at the end. I'm obviously if they still play, who knows if those turnovers happen. But say they're playing and you still get those turnovers, that's a beatdown. Like you can't outrun those turnovers and timely plays from Philly. I mean, Philly had a perfect game damn near. Hassan Reddick killed. I think he was 3 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a fumble forced, a fumble recovery. He was everywhere, and it was all early.
I mean,
they put him to bed early.
And then you look at what Philly's O-line did. I mean, Lane Johnson, Bosa didn't even sniff the quarterback.
That's Micah Parsons and Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa back to back is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
I mean, that man's every team wants a lineman like that guy. That's the thing going into the Super Bowl. I mean, we'll talk, on our preview episode of the Super Bowl, but it's like, I don't know what Kansas City has that can really answer the call to Philly. It just, they're not. Philly is so much more complete of a team than Kansas City. I'm not saying Kansas City is bad or like doesn't deserve to be there, but when you really look at it, Kansas City's so beat up. They were missing how many guys? I mean, and they pulled it off against Cincinnati. They don't win that game against. If the Super Bowl was this past weekend and Kansas City's dealing with what they're dealing with, they ain't sniffing a win against Philly, bro. And that's why they got to be thanking the heavens above that they got 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, they'll probably get Tony back. They might get that DB back that got hurt. Snead, I think his name is. But I mean, both teams are going to definitely use that time to get healthy because you mentioned Lane Johnson. I think he pulled his groin again. So he's going to want 2 weeks to sit his ass on the couch with some ice packs.
I mean, let's be real. Even if they're a little banged up still after these 2 weeks, they're going to damn near both be full. Everybody's playing, yeah. So they're going to be full, healthy roster, you know. So it's going to be a slugfest. Obviously, I can't imagine this being a high scoring game, but you never know.
I mean, I kind of do. Kansas City, I don't expect their defense to play like that. And Philly, yeah, they're good, but that's Patrick on the other side. So we're going to see something. What do you consider high scoring? Because I see 27s, 27, 28, 30 range for both teams potentially. I feel like that's fairly high scoring.
I would give Kansas City most 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns, 3 field goals. That puts us at 30. What about Philly?
I mean, I'm not saying that.
I know. I am.
That's tough because I don't, even with Kelsey and Mahomes, bro. Kadarius Toney ain't scaring nobody on Philly. They got
he's a weapon.
I know. Philly is
nice.
What receivers are going to beat Darius Slay and Bradbury? Like, come on, bro. Kansas City is really good. The AFC was supposed to be very good, but Philly is the dominant team of the year.
What happened to Philly? Had a cupcake schedule all year.
They have had a cupcake schedule, but when they played the second best team in the league, in my opinion, last week, and they dominated. The quarterback.
Josh Johnson. That has to matter a little bit.
Come on, dude. They weren't.
Purdy could have got you 198 yards and a touchdown, and he could have kept the ball away from Philly.
He could have, but the way Philly's defense was playing, man, I don't know. The only thing San Fran had going for him was CMC. That's what I saw. That's what my eyes told me on the television. And
yeah, they couldn't do shit for Debo or Kittle.
For me, I mean, the thing is with Philly is you can't go into the Super Bowl too amped up. You want to be amped up like you were last week, but you can't be too amped up where you're making too many dumb mistakes and playing, not playing within yourself. That's where they'll lose the game, in my opinion. But I don't know. Kansas City is just, they got that feeling. The feeling I have from Kansas City is they're very good, but they're not on Philly's level.
Hey, this is what I like. We finally got some back and forth. We're going to have a nice preview episode, some Skip and Shannon type shit. I'm going to argue this Patrick guy. If it ain't Baltimore, I'm with Patrick.
Oh, believe me. Hey, listen, Patrick, best quarterback hands down. That is no argument. But what he doesn't have is a complete team like Jalen Hurts has. And Jalen Hurts has improved mightily, but he's still more of a system quarterback in my eyes, where he makes good throws. He's improved as a thrower for sure, but he does so well in the run game and those RPOs. That's what sets him apart from other quarterbacks. And he's not a thrower like Patrick is by any means. Like, he can't make those type of throws that he does. But so if it came down to just quarterbacks, give me Patrick Mahomes. But we're talking about overall teams who can win a Super Bowl, and I don't know if Kansas City can hold their own against Philly. If Philly comes out and plays the way they did last week, especially on defense, boy, oh boy. Because let's not forget, Philly's got a good offense too. Right. Kansas City's defense is more on the cupcake side of things.
Yeah, that's where the game changes. But I'm not discounting Patrick Mahomes, saying he's only going to score 21 points. I do believe that the Chiefs' defense has the potential to give up 30 plus, and I think that's where the game ends.
Kansas City scored 23 against Cincinnati.
Cincinnati's defense is very good.
As good as Philly?
No, not as good as Philly.
So how are you going to tell me they're going to score 30 plus points against Philly?
We got 2 weeks to prepare. We got Andy Reid. Come on, man. What are we talking about here?
Dude.
You don't even like Sirianni. You haven't liked Philly for 20 weeks.
I haven't. And I'm because I'm an NFC guy. I shit on NFC teams besides us.
Jalen Hurts gonna have 145 pass yards and get yanked for Minshew like he did in the championship game. Man, stop playing with this man, Patrick.
You're a lie. You're a lie.
Stop
bro.
playing with this man, Patrick.
Jalen Hurts will probably have 250 and another 100 on the ground.
All right, we'll come with some bets. We'll come with some bets next week.
My bet, if it's good, the MVP of the game is going to either be Mahomes or Jalen Hurts. That's a fact.
What are you gonna bet on that? Monopoly money? Ain't nobody taking that nonsense, man.
Well, who's going to be MVP?
One of those two, for sure. And it's probably going to be 98% Mahomes because Chiefs going to win.
I mean, let's be real. We always predict a quarterback to win MVP, but a lot of times, I mean, sometimes it just doesn't happen.
It's going to have to be Trav.
Philly's defense got some quality candidates.
You think this Philly defense is better than that Tampa defense a couple years ago?
They're up there.
But this line is 100 times better for Kansas City. We'll see, man.
The offensive line?
Yeah.
You talking about the offensive line?
Yeah.
Well, there's no doubt about that, but, come on, bro. The rotational pieces Philly has on defense to keep guys fresh, bro, come on.
I understand.
You're going to have the best game, A-plus game from this O-line you've had all year. That's hard to do. If they do it, credit to them, but that's hard to do.
It's hard to do, but what's one more week on the 19? We've been a top 3 line all year.
Hey man, I know you want the AFC represented well, but
and go to work, boys. We've been doing it for 19 weeks. What's one more week? Let's get Andy his fucking cheeseburger, man. He deserves it.
Trust me. Hey, I would love to see Kansas City win, but I'd love to see a Kansas City win, but because I'm a huge Patrick Mahomes fan, I feel like that would just cement his legacy already in this short amount of time he's had a career. But
that would make Jalen Hurts' contract negotiations through the roof if he were to pull this game off.
You cut out. What'd you say?
I said if Jalen were to pull this game off, yeah, his contract negotiations would be through the roof.
I think they still will be. I mean, come on, bro. The way he's improved and so fast, it's crazy to me. And he's only getting better. He's so young. He's only 24. Come on. This man is. Philly's got some work to do for that. A lot of retaining a lot of players. I mean, he ain't gonna have AJ Brown forever. He ain't gonna have Devontae Smith forever. Which one of those two are you gonna keep?
You got to keep AJ. He's the only reason you're relevant right now. He did it for Tannehill. Now he's doing it for you.
That would be my pick. But I mean, obviously Devontae is probably the younger guy. He's more of he is more of a number 2 guy. I don't see Devontae ever being a solidified number 1.
Never.
He's too small, too skinny,
way too small. Percy Harvin.
But I mean, but you got it at the end of the day, though. What's his name? Howie Roseman. He deserves an award too. I mean, the shit he's done with that freaking roster construction is crazy.
Yeah, we've been saying that all year. He's been going out and doing every move possible. I mean, he's for real playing Madden.
Yeah, for real.
We rambled a little bit. A few more things before we get out of here. Fun fact: I read that whoever wins this game will have more wins this year in Arizona than Kyler Murray.
I read that too.
I figured you'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I sure do.
And we talked about Trey Lance a little bit earlier. What do you think the league thinks his trade package is? And then we can get out of here.
What do I think that teams are thinking they can trade for him?
Because you would give, I don't know, a box of wheat things and a bag of marshmallows, maybe, But what do you think the Carolina Panthers would give for him?
Realistically, I think a team like Carolina, if they wanted to go out and trade for him and not draft someone, you're probably going to give a 3rd-round pick.
That's probably what I was thinking. Maybe a 2nd, because we know you need it.
I think,
but I don't think you can go higher than a 3rd.
No, I think the way that his career has gone so far, and all of the shit that's going down now between Purdy and him, and what Shanahan's saying, I think Shanahan and John Lynch would be superbly happy with the 3rd round pick. They would take that and run.
Turn it into an all-pro.
Like, he ain't worth a 3rd round pick, bro. Run. But when we're talking NFL, NFL, GM terms and stuff, I mean, that's what you're gonna have to get. I mean, you drafted him number 2 overall, number
After
3 overall,
traded
whatever
away
it was,
and traded up, yeah.
So you're gonna have to recoup something of decent value. So you're not gonna, in my eyes, he ain't worth nothing more than a 6th or 7th round pick.
I'd say 5. I give 5 for him.
But NFL world, 3rd round is probably what you're gonna have to give up.
Not mad at that. You good? Anything else before you want to get out of here?
No, I think I'm good. I mean,
short episode probably went 15 minutes longer than it could have. We ended up rambling about some shit, but
yeah, I mean, obviously there's some people who want to talk more in depth about these games, but it's like we've been talking about them all year long. We know what these teams are.
We said what we said. We feel how we
saw
feel.
what we saw on the TV, watching these games, and they're just, the Kansas City Cincinnati game was a 10 times better game than the Philly San Fran game. It's very disappointing that game happened the way it did, because no NFC or AFC championship game should ever be a blowout.
Right. It's really a travesty. What do you think? I heard some conversation about maybe letting another quarterback on the roster for the playoffs, either a 3rd quarterback or just allowing 54 players. Do you think that would have helped at all? I mean, who would you have gotten in this scenario?
Are you talking about for the playoffs as a whole?
Yeah, like going into the playoffs, you knew you had Brock Purdy, Josh Johnson. Who would your 3rd quarterback have been?
Good question. I have no idea.
So I don't really know how good of an idea that is. But you definitely don't want Juszczyk or McCaffrey to be your quarterback either. So at least the guy that knows the position.
I have a feeling the emergency quarterback would have been McCaffrey.
I think that's what they said. Him and Juszczyk. I feel more comfortable.
I think McCaffrey's brother is a quarterback in college, right?
That I'm not sure of.
Or maybe I'm wrong, but I swear he played at Nebraska or something like that. But I think I don't know, because how do you plan all season for that? Like, you have to have a game plan from the jump at the start of the season for that scenario.
I would think so too. Just have them practice squad or something.
I mean, you think about it. We're talking Vikings. Say the Vikings were in the playoffs like they were, and they had that rule, like you get to, have more players or for sure a 3rd quarterback or whatever. We would have had Kirk Cousins, and then I think it's Nick Mullins as our backup, and then our 3rd quarterback would have been Josh Rosen.
But if it's not Josh Rosen, who is it? Thielen?
Well, I mean, how often do you get all 3 quarterbacks to go down?
I understand. That's why I asked you. What do you think about that idea that I heard getting tossed around?
I wouldn't. I mean, I think, I don't know. It's kind of irrelevant, honestly, because the fact that, I mean, think you get Trey Lance out from jump, then Jimmy G goes down, on some freak shit. So you're down your top 2 quarterbacks, and now you're on Brock Purdy. How often is a 3rd quarterback going to get injured like that? I mean, he fucking was going back to pass, and his arm just bent back funny. That doesn't happen hardly ever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you don't ever go into the season or playoffs thinking like we're fucked. Like but San Fran was fucked. Like, how you don't want Josh Johnson playing in the biggest game of the season?
Or Josh Rosen.
I mean, Josh Johnson's played for damn near every team.
Yeah, he's got half the league under his belt. That's a
Crazy.
true journeyman right there.
I just, it's unbelievable. I mean, the thing is though, Josh Johnson, he doesn't look half bad. He doesn't got all the tools.
Yeah, he doesn't look half bad. Like I said, he was playing okay up until he fumbled that snap. He was
and I think
for sure.
Well, yeah,
But
but that
he
comes
also
with
didn't
never
start
playing.
with San Francisco. I think he was on Denver earlier in the season. So now you're learning a
Yeah,
whole new
yep.
system and this and that. So.
Right. And that's what happens when you kind of get those journeyman quarterbacks is, they have so many things in their brain when it comes to systems and different terminology. And I mean, we're all human. We make mistakes. He could go in the huddle and say some shit that's, a route combination that is the same thing, but a different terminology on accident. I don't know. But he's also not playing games, especially at this level of competition in the playoffs ever. So he doesn't really know the magnitude when he's out there of to him, it's almost like it's a fucking preseason game because he's out there playing. That's how I think of it. The magnitude of the game, but when you're in there, it's kind of like you kind of revert back to how you play in preseason or when you get called in mid-season, for a few plays or, someone goes down in the season and then you have to play. But you don't really have that edge to you as that type of third string quarterback.
I couldn't imagine having to learn multiple playbooks. Those fucking plays are so long for no reason. You be in the huddle like Corvette.
Have you ever seen the? Have you ever seen the
47 combo, zebra right, XY option? Like Jesus Christmas,
bro. Have you ever seen the clip of back in the early 2000s? John Gruden's coach of Tampa Bay, and he's saying the play out loud to Chris Sims, the backup quarterback.
No, I haven't seen that.
and Chris Sims, he tries to say it about 5 different times, and John Gruden's like,
I did
Jesus
see
fucking
that.
Christ, dude. He's like, turbo right, zebra left. And he keeps whatever it was, but he keeps stuttering over his mouth, and he's like, sorry, one more time.
He kept getting worse too,
Gruden's
the longer the
about to-
clip went.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, that's got to be the worst feeling, especially with a coach like John Gruden, man. I mean, that'd be like Wessel telling you a play and you keep fucking up, and he's like, Jesus fucking Christ.
What'd he say? I make you nervous, don't I? He said, no, I just can't get it out. I'm like, no, nigga, you were nervous.
I mean, you don't want to, but that is kind of true. I've always wondered, why are NFL plays, why do they have to be so fucking long, bro? I mean, we go 23 dive in Pee Wee football, and that's it.
It changes a little bit in college, but I don't know why it changes from college to NFL like that.
NFL, I think, I don't know the reason. It's got to be. It's probably
what
because
we do. It seems like it's
got to be, but it's got to be probably something that has to do with
counters and all type of shit.
Players change teams so frequently that coaches have to come up with new ways of shit that people can't steal. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. But man,
but when you think about it, when you hear the play call, everything kind of makes sense in its own certain way. Oh, zebra, so that means the Z receiver.
It's a lot to say and take in. You just listen for your position. I'm like, okay, block right or left, cool.
It is a lot, but they get paid the big bucks for a reason, man. They got to make it hard. I mean, you can't go in there and be learning third grade English. So
no, definitely not.
I don't know. The NFL is man. I mean, there's a reason a lot of these guys who are very good in college don't make it in the NFL because they don't have the mental aspect of it.
That's a big part of it, honestly.
So, and that's why we see the best of the best are out there each and every Sunday because they have it down. I mean, and that's why a lot of rookies take time, like a couple of years, to get in there and get their footing. And that's why I think it's kind of fucked up that when we draft quarterbacks, that we expect them to just come in and be a savior. Whereas, to your point, they should at least sit for 2-3 years.
What do you think they would say about Peyton Manning if he came in today and threw 20-something interceptions his rookie year? They'd probably kill him now. I don't know what it was back then. Because
it's got to be, everyone is expecting instant gratification. And that's just not what let's think about this upcoming draft, bro. The quarterbacks in this draft class are supposed to be much better than last year. I don't really see that, bro. I think these guys are going to be letting some teams down mightily.
Bigger names. That's it.
And for the and as a Gator fan and watching Anthony Richardson play, the man is nowhere near ready to be a first round pick. I mean, he's second round at best, and that's being nice.
As a Bryce Young fan and a Bama fan, he's not a top 5 pick, even though I do think he has the tool set for it. He's just not going to be able to withstand the hits that he's going to take in the league. So I'll probably look at him as a second round pick if I'm going for a quarterback. Personally.
Well, and then if you're putting Bryce Young in that type of position or thought process on him, I mean, you can't feel much better about C.J. Stroud.
I don't ever feel good about an Ohio State Buckeye quarterback.
I agree with that. I feel that statement 100%. It's just going to be interesting. I mean, and then it sets like a guy like DeMeco Ryans taking over for Houston. Say you draft a Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud with your first pick, bro. That's make or break for your career.
It is. And do you think he goes offense or defense? He's obviously a defensive guy. He's going to get the number 2 pick. He can go Will Anderson, build a dynasty like you had in San Fran, and find your game manager later.
I'll tell you what. I don't think that DeMeco Ryans is going to be able to do what DeMeco Ryans wants to do. It's whatever the owner and GM want to do, and he has to suck it up and deal with it and make it work. And that's why a lot of these bright young coaches who get their first head coaching job fizzle out and don't, have success, because the owner and GMs have too much say and too much input on these teams. And a lot of these owners and GMs have never stepped foot on an NFL field.
Yeah. That's a tough call in most situations because they're so impatient, but they're always giving out the penalties and not receiving any penalty.
And there's no one bigger to blame for a team's downfall than the owner. You have all the say. You have the final say on everything.
Right. And
a lot of, I don't know. It's just, there's so many owners, and the shitty part about it is these owners, they really can't be fired. They get to do what they get to do, and that's it. Yeah. And so your team is stuck with either a owner who's willing to go out there and have their GM, an owner who's kind of steps back and says, do what you need to do to make us winners. Or you got the owners like Jerry Jones, who is so micromanaging the team that you're kind of your own worst enemy in your downfall.
Yeah.
Because I really think that the Cowboys won't win a Super Bowl again until Jerry's gone. But then you got the rest of the family tree. So, I mean, I don't know. You're going to have his sons probably doing the same thing he's doing.
Yeah, probably even worse. Because that ain't their baby.
No.
They're just inheriting it. That's his baby right there.
And it's sad. I mean, I don't know, man. I think that's the one thing with like these teams, bro. It's like, I think owners should just strictly own the team. You go out and hire the best people you can for the front office and let them do their work, because they're there every fucking day. These owners are not there in the building every day. They don't know what's going on. They have to go to meetings and have briefings by everyone else to know what's going on.
Coffee dates and shit.
So it's, I don't know. It's, the NFL is a cruel, cruel business. I'll say that.
That's for sure. And on that note, I'm good. We can get out of here.
For sure.
We appreciate y'all. We'll be back next week. There is no game, obviously, during the weekend, but we'll figure out something to give y'all. Until then, my friend.
All right, bro.
Peace.